I sat across from Todd Brennan in the conference room, my hands folded on the table, trying to keep them from shaking. The Friday afternoon sun slanted through the blinds, casting stripes across his smug face. He leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled, and said the words that would change everything. "You missed your targets, sweetheart. My niece is taking over." My heart stopped. I had exceeded every target this quarter by 22%. I built the entire client retention program from scratch over 4 years. He slid a termination letter across the table. "Pack your things. Stephanie starts Monday." The fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright, the room too small. I stared at the termination letter, reading the words over and over. Performance inadequacy, failure to meet basic standards. Every single word was a lie. My office walls were covered with awards, commendations from the CEO himself. Just last month, I closed a $3 million contract with Grayson Industries. The entire sales team celebrated. Now I was being erased like I never existed. Todd stood up, straightening his tie. "HR will process your final paycheck. Your building access ends today at 5. He walked out without another word, leaving me alone with the letter and my disbelief. I finally forced myself to stand, my legs unsteady beneath me. I walked down the hallway to my office, each step feeling surreal. My office overlooked downtown Portland, a view I had earned through years of 70-hour weeks and sacrificed weekends. Inside, I looked at the photos on my desk. There I was, receiving the Sales Excellence Award 2 years in a row. A handwritten note from Lawrence Whitfield, the company founder, thanking me for saving the Phoenix account. I remembered that week vividly. I slept in my office for 5 nights straight, negotiating until my voice went hoarse. Lawrence called me a miracle worker. Now I was being thrown away. My coworker Jenna appeared at my door, her eyes red and watery. "Dale, this is completely insane. Everyone knows you're the best director we have. The numbers don't lie." I could barely speak past the lump in my throat. "I don't understand what happened. I exceeded every single target." "It's not about targets," Jenna whispered, glancing down the hallway. "Word is spreading that Todd's niece is taking your position. She's 23 and just graduated college. She has 0 sales experience." My hands started shaking as I pulled a cardboard box from the supply closet. I packed my awards, my photos, the coffee mug that said World's Best Sales Director. Each item felt heavier than the last. The weekend was a blur of numbness and panic. Saturday morning, I sat in my apartment staring at my laptop, unable to process what had happened. I'm 34 years old, single, and supporting my younger brother Nathan through college. He depends on the $500 I send him every month for his tuition at Oregon State. My lease renewal was coming up next month. Could I afford the $2,000 rent without a job? I tried calling Todd a dozen times over the weekend. Every call went straight to voicemail. Sunday afternoon, desperate for answers, I dug out my employment contract from my file cabinet. I read through the dense legal language, searching for something, anything that might help me. On page 19, section 12, I found it. Termination for cause requires documented performance reviews and a formal improvement plan implemented over a minimum of 60 days. I had never received a single negative review. No improvement plan. Nothing. This had to be wrongful termination. Monday morning arrived and I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My stomach churned with anxiety. I wasn't allowed back in the office. My badge had been deactivated. I sat on my couch, staring at my phone, wondering what to do next. At 8:30, my phone rang. It was Jenna, and she was whispering frantically. "Dale, you won't believe what's happening right now. Mr. Whitfield just walked in." Lawrence Whitfield, the founder. He semi-retired 3 years ago and moved to Seattle to be closer to his daughter. He rarely visited the Portland office anymore, maybe once or twice a year for board meetings. "Why is he there?" I asked, sitting up straight. "I don't know, but he looks really upset. He's asking for you." "Hold on, let me get closer." Jenna's voice became muffled. "I'm putting you on speaker in my pocket. Don't say anything." Through the phone, I heard Lawrence's voice, loud and commanding despite his 71 years. "Where is Dale? I need to speak with her immediately." Todd's voice responded, nervous and defensive. Mr. Whitfield, Dale is no longer with the company. I terminated her on Friday for performance issues. Silence. Long, terrible silence that seemed to stretch forever. Then Lawrence spoke again, his voice low and dangerous. You did what? She missed her target, sir. I replaced her with my niece, Stephanie. She starts today. Stephanie has a business degree from Portland State and fresh perspectives on client retention. Another pause. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. You replaced Dale, Lawrence said slowly, with your niece. Yes, sir. I felt it was time for new leadership in that department. Dale had become complacent. Where is Dale right now? I believe she's at home. Her employment ended Friday at 5. Lawrence's voice rose. Get her on the phone. Immediately. Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. He wants to talk to you now. He's calling you from his cell. My phone rang. Lawrence's name appeared on the screen. I answered with trembling hands. Dale, this is Lawrence Whitfield. I just found out what Todd did. I'm deeply sorry. Can you come to the office right now? Mr. Whitfield, my building access was revoked. I can't get in. I'll meet you at the front entrance myself. Please come immediately. There's something critical you need to know. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the parking garage, my heart racing. Lawrence stood outside the main entrance, and when he saw me, I was shocked by how pale and stressed he looked. He had aged since I last saw him 6 months ago. Dale, we can't talk in the building. Come with me. We walked across the street to a small coffee shop. He ordered 2 coffees, but neither of us touched them. We sat in a corner booth, away from other customers. Dale, I need to tell you something I should have explained 4 years ago when I promoted you to your position. His hands were shaking slightly as he wrapped them around his coffee cup. Your role isn't just a senior management position. It's what we call a protected trustee position. A what? He leaned forward. When I founded this company 30 years ago, I built in certain safeguards. I wanted to prevent hostile takeovers and ensure the company stayed true to its mission. So I created a unique corporate structure. Certain key positions are designated as trustee roles. These positions have legal oversight of company operations. They cannot be terminated without board approval, and my signature as founder. My mind raced. I never knew this. It's buried in your contract, page 32, subsection D. I should have been clearer when I promoted you. Your position is one of only 3 trustee roles in the entire company. The others are the CFO and Chief Legal Officer. So Todd couldn't fire me? He doesn't have the authority. Never did. Your termination is legally void. He paused, his face darkening. But there's a bigger problem. I found out this morning why Todd did this. And it's much worse than simple nepotism. He pulled out his phone and showed me an email. The subject line read, Proposal for Company Sale, Parker Technologies Acquisition. There's a vote scheduled for Wednesday. Parker Technologies wants to buy the company for $80 million, but the sale requires approval from all trustee positions. My eyes widened. And if I'm not in my position, then Justin becomes acting trustee. Justin? Your son Justin? Lawrence's face fell. Yes, and Justin has already told me he's voting yes on the sale. Todd fired you to manipulate the trustee vote. With you gone, the sale goes through. Todd and his allies make millions. I felt like the floor was dropping out from under me. This wasn't about job performance. This was corporate conspiracy. Lawrence and I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, trying to figure out our next move. He pulled up the company bylaws on his phone, and we read through the trustee provisions together. We file an immediate injunction, Lawrence said. Your termination is void. You return to your position. The trustee structure remains intact, and the sale can't proceed without your vote. He called the company's lead attorney, Gerald Foster, but Gerald's assistant answered with an apologetic tone. Mr. Foster is unavailable today. He's in back-to-back meetings all day. Lawrence frowned. Who scheduled those meetings? The assistant hesitated. Mr. Brennan scheduled them on Friday afternoon. Lawrence tried the backup attorney. Same response. All the lawyers were suddenly unavailable, their schedules packed with meetings. Todd's blocking us, I said. He's keeping the attorneys away so we can't file anything. Then we handle this directly. Lawrence stood up. Come on, we're going back to the office. We walked back across the street. Lawrence used his founder access code to override my deactivated badge. The security guard looked confused but didn't stop us. We took the elevator to the executive floor. The office felt different. People whispered and stared as we walked past. Some looked sympathetic, others looked away. We headed straight to Todd's office. His door was closed, the blinds drawn. Lawrence knocked once, then opened the door without waiting for a response. Inside, Todd sat behind his desk with a young woman in her mid-20s. She had to be Stephanie, his niece. She wore designer clothes and was scrolling through her phone, looking bored. Also present were Justin Whitfield, Lawrence's son, and 2 board members, Patricia Vance and Arthur Spelling. "Todd, we need to talk," Lawrence said, privately. Todd stood up slowly, surprisingly calm. "Actually, Lawrence, I'm glad you're here. We were just discussing your future with the company." "My future?" "I founded this company." Justin stepped forward and I saw the calculated expression on his face. "Dad, we've been worried about you. You're 71 years old. You've been having health issues. Mom mentioned you forgot your anniversary last month." Lawrence looked shocked. "I was traveling for business." "Your mother understood." Patricia Vance spoke up, her voice falsely sympathetic. "Lawrence, we received a concerning report from your doctor. Dr. Hammond indicated you've been experiencing memory issues and confusion." "That's absurd. I saw Dr. Hammond for a routine checkup last month. He said I'm in excellent health." Patricia slid a document across Todd's desk. "This medical report details cognitive decline, early-stage dementia, and inability to make sound business decisions." Lawrence picked it up, his hands shaking as he read. His face went red. "This is fake. I never had these tests. These aren't even the tests Dr. Hammond does." Todd's voice was smooth, practiced. "Lawrence, denial is a common symptom. We're trying to help you. We all care about you deeply." Justin put his hand on his father's shoulder. "Dad, we've arranged for you to step down temporarily. For your health and well-being. I'll take over as interim CEO. Just until you're feeling better." "I'm not stepping down. I'm perfectly fine." Patricia pulled out more documents. "Actually, the corporate bylaws allow for temporary removal if the founder is medically unfit. We have signatures from 2 independent doctors here, stating you're not competent to lead." She fanned out 2 more medical reports across the desk. Both stated Lawrence was suffering from severe cognitive impairment. Both were dated over the past 3 months. Lawrence had never seen these doctors. He had never had these appointments. "This is fraud," Lawrence said, his voice rising. "These reports are fabricated." Todd stood up, his expression hardening. "Lawrence, you can make this easy or difficult. Step aside voluntarily, let Justin lead the company forward, and we'll make sure you're well taken care of. Fight us, and this gets ugly for everyone." Then Todd turned to me. His eyes were cold. "And Miss Dale, you're still terminated. Your position has been filled by Stephanie, who is more than qualified." "My position is a trustee role," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "You can't terminate me without board approval and Mr. Whitfield's signature." Todd smiled, and it made my skin crawl. "Actually, I can, because as of 10 minutes ago, the board voted to dissolve the outdated trustee structure. It was hindering business flexibility and modern corporate governance." He slid a document toward us. "Board resolution, dated that morning, signed by 5 of the 7 board members. The trustee system was gone. My protection was gone. Lawrence's safeguards were gone." Arthur Spelling cleared his throat. "The sale to Parker Technologies will proceed as scheduled, Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon. The company will be sold, and we'll all benefit from the transaction." Lawrence tried to speak, but Justin squeezed his shoulder. "Dad, please, don't make us call security. You're not well. Let us help you." Lawrence looked at his son, and I saw the betrayal in his eyes. His own son was doing this to him. Todd looked at me. "You're trespassing, Miss Dale. Leave now, or I'll have you arrested for refusing to vacate company property." 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. They weren't the regular guards. These men were large, intimidating, wearing dark suits. "Gentlemen, please escort Mr. Whitfield and Miss Dale from the building," They no longer have authorization to be here. The guards moved toward us. Lawrence opened his mouth to protest, but one guard took his arm, another took mine. We were led out of the office, down the hallway, past dozens of staring employees. The humiliation burned through me. Outside in the parking lot, Lawrence leaned against my car. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "My son," he whispered. "My own son is helping them steal my company." My phone buzzed. Email from HR. Subject: Final employment processing. I opened it with shaking hands. Final paycheck will be deposited Wednesday. Benefits terminated immediately. Please return all company property. Another notification. Voicemail. I played it on speaker. "Miss Dale, this is Frank Morrison, your landlord. Your employer called me this morning requesting a reference. They informed me you were terminated for theft and financial misconduct. I need to speak with you immediately about your lease." My stomach dropped. "They're destroying my reputation." Lawrence pulled out his phone. "They're destroying both of us, but we're not giving up. I'm calling my personal attorney." We spent the rest of Monday afternoon at a law office downtown. Lawrence hired Sylvia Grant, a sharp corporate attorney in her 50s who specialized in hostile takeover defense. Sylvia reviewed everything: my termination letter, the fake medical reports, the board resolution dissolving the trustee system. She spent 2 hours cross-referencing documents with the corporate bylaws. Finally, she looked up. "The medical reports are obviously fraudulent. Dr. Hammond would never write something like this. But proving it takes time, and time is something we don't have." "The sale is Wednesday," Lawrence said. "Less than 48 hours. Then we need a different strategy." Sylvia pulled out the corporate bylaws. "The trustee system can only be dissolved by a vote of all shareholders, not just the board." "Lawrence, you own 51% of the company's shares. Did you vote to dissolve the trustee system?" "Absolutely not. I never even knew about the vote." "Then the board resolution is invalid. They can't dissolve the trustee structure without majority shareholder approval." Sylvia started typing rapidly on her laptop. "We'll file an emergency injunction to stop the sale. We can get a hearing tomorrow morning." Hope flickered in my chest for the first time since Friday. Then my phone rang. Nathan's name appeared on the screen. My little brother. "Albina, something terrible happened." He was crying. "I got kicked out of school." My heart stopped. "What? Why?" "They said there was a problem with my tuition payments. The checks you sent bounced. And they're saying the money came from a fraudulent account. The dean said the FBI is investigating you for financial fraud." "Albina, what's going on? What did you do?" "Nathan, I didn't do anything. I pay your tuition directly from my checking account. I've never bounced a check in my life. The school's financial office showed me the records. They said you're under federal investigation. They expelled me pending the outcome. Albina, I'm going to lose my entire semester." I hung up, my hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Across the table, Lawrence's phone rang. He answered, and I watched his face go white. "Catherine, slow down. What's wrong?" He listened, his expression growing more horrified by the second. "The IRS? At our house? Right now?" He put the call on speaker. His wife's panicked voice filled the room. "Lawrence, they have a warrant. They're saying we haven't paid federal taxes in 5 years. They're seizing our bank accounts. They're going through everything. What's happening?" An official voice came on in the background. "Mr. Whitfield, IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Our records show no tax payments since 2018. We're freezing all assets pending a full audit and potential criminal charges." "I've paid every year," Lawrence said desperately. "I have receipts. My accountant has all the documentation." "Sir, our system shows 0 payments. We'll need you to come to our office immediately." The call ended. Lawrence stared at his phone like it was a venomous snake. Sylvia looked between us, her expression grim. "They're not just fighting your lawsuit. They're systematically destroying your ability to fight. You can't hire attorneys if your assets are frozen. You can't focus on legal strategy if you're defending against criminal charges." I felt the walls closing in. Todd hadn't just fired me. He was eliminating every possible way Lawrence and I could fight back. Tuesday afternoon, and everything was falling apart faster than we could respond. Sylvia spent hours on the phone with the IRS, trying to halt the asset freeze. No luck. Lawrence's bank accounts were frozen. His investment accounts were frozen. Even the checking account he shared with his wife was locked. I checked my own accounts on my phone, dreading what I'd find. My savings account showed a balance of $12. Someone had made unauthorized transfers, draining $8,000 I'd saved over 3 years. My credit cards were maxed out with charges I never made. Purchases from stores I'd never been to, in cities I'd never visited. "This is identity theft," I said, my voice hollow. Sylvia nodded grimly, coordinated with the fraud allegations. "They're creating a paper trail that makes you look guilty." Lawrence put his head in his hands. "Without money, we can't fight them in court. Legal fees for a case like this could run $200,000. And my brother needs $5,000 by Friday or he's expelled permanently," I added. "I don't have it anymore." The situation felt completely hopeless. We sat in Sylvia's office, surrounded by legal documents that meant nothing if we couldn't afford to file them. My phone buzzed. Anonymous text message from a number I didn't recognize. "You're not the first person Todd has done this to. Meet me at Pioneer Courthouse Square, 6 p.m. Come alone. I have evidence." I showed the message to Lawrence and Sylvia. "It could be a trap," Sylvia warned. "Todd could be luring you somewhere to intimidate you further." "At this point, what else can they take from me?" I asked. "They've already destroyed my career, my reputation, my savings. I have to know who this is." 6 o'clock found me standing in Pioneer Courthouse Square in downtown Portland. The square was busy with evening commuters heading home. Food carts lined the edges, and the smell of coffee and grilled onions filled the air. A woman approached me. She was in her mid-40s, professionally dressed in a gray suit, but her eyes darted nervously around the square. "Are you Dale?" I nodded. "My name is Grace Holland. I was the director of finance at the company. Todd fired me 2 years ago." She gestured to a bench. "Can we sit?" We sat, and Grace spoke quietly, checking over her shoulder every few seconds. "Todd did to me exactly what he's doing to you. Wrongful termination, destroyed my reputation, framed me for embezzlement. He had evidence planted in my office computer showing I was transferring company funds to offshore accounts. Why would he do that? Because I discovered what he was really doing. Todd's been stealing from the company for 5 years. Small amounts from different accounts, difficult to trace unless you know what to look for. But over 5 years, he's taken nearly $2 million. My eyes widened. "Did you report it?" I tried. "I went to the board, but half of them were already on Todd's payroll. I went to the CEO at the time, but Todd had been feeding him lies about my performance for months. By the time I realized how deep the conspiracy went, Todd had already fired me and called the SEC. What happened? I spent every penny I had fighting the embezzlement charges, $50,000 in legal fees. The case dragged on for 18 months. Eventually, the SEC dropped it for lack of evidence, but my career was over. No financial institution would hire me. I've been working retail at a department store for 2 years, making $12 an hour." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive. "Before Todd fired me, I copied everything. Financial records going back 7 years. Emails between Todd and board members discussing kickbacks. Offshore account numbers in the Cayman Islands. I've been holding on to it, waiting for the right time." "Why now?" "Because I heard he's selling the company. If that sale goes through, Todd disappears with millions, and people like us are left with nothing. I spent 2 years rebuilding my life. I can't let him do this to someone else." We rushed back to Sylvia's office. Grace plugged the flash drive into Sylvia's computer, and files filled the screen. Hundreds of documents, spreadsheets showing doctored financial statements, emails between Todd and board members discussing payments, wire transfer records to offshore accounts. Sylvia clicked through the files, her eyes growing wider with each document. "This is incredible. Wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, conspiracy. We have enough here to bring federal criminal charges." Lawrence leaned forward. "But we still need to move fast. The sale is tomorrow at 3. "I'll file an emergency motion first thing in the morning," Sylvia said. "With this evidence, we can get an injunction to stop the sale." Grace pulled up another folder. There's more. Todd's been bribing board members with promises of huge payouts when the sale closes. Patricia Vance gets $500,000. Arthur Spelling gets $750,000. It's all detailed in emails. So the board members aren't just going along, I said. They're active participants in the conspiracy. And look at this. Grace opened an email chain between Todd and Justin. Justin's being promised the CEO position at Parker Technologies after the acquisition, plus $5 million in Parker's stock options. He's not just betraying his father for money. He's betraying him for power. Lawrence's face crumpled. Seeing the evidence of his son's betrayal in black and white was different than suspecting it. Sylvia worked through the night preparing documents. Emergency injunction to halt the sale. Criminal complaints against Todd for fraud and embezzlement. Motion to invalidate the board resolution. Motion to reinstate my position. Motion to invalidate Lawrence's medical incompetency claim. I helped organize the evidence, creating a timeline of Todd's crimes. Grace provided context for every transaction, explaining how the money laundering worked. Around midnight, my phone rang. It was Jenna. Dale, I thought you should know something. Todd's having a celebration dinner right now at the Heathman Hotel, private dining room. He's celebrating the sale like it already happened. Who's there? Him, Justin, all the board members who voted to dissolve the trustee system, and that Stephanie girl. I'm working catering for the event. They're drinking champagne that costs $400 a bottle. An idea struck me. Jenna, can you record them? Hide your phone somewhere in the room? I could put it behind the bar. The bartender's a friend. Why? Because people get careless when they're celebrating. They might say something incriminating. I'll do it. I'll send you the audio file later. 2 hours later, around 2 in the morning, an audio file appeared in my email. I downloaded it and played it through Sylvia's computer speakers. The four of us listened in the dim office, the only light coming from the desk lamp. The audio was muffled at first, just background noise of clinking glasses and laughter. Then Todd's voice came through clearly. Tomorrow, we're all going to be very rich. Parker Technologies closes the deal at 3, and by 5, we're looking at wire transfers to our accounts. Justin's voice. What about my father? He's not going to just accept this. Your father will be in a memory care facility by next week. We've already arranged the placement. Once he's declared legally incompetent, you control his shares. 51% of the company becomes yours to vote however you want. Patricia Vance's voice. What about the Dale woman? She could still cause problems. Dale is finished. The fraud charges will stick. Between the FBI investigation and the embezzlement allegations, she'll be tied up in legal proceedings for years. By the time she clears her name, if she ever does, the company will be sold and dissolved. She'll have no job to come back to and no recourse. Stephanie's voice, giggling slightly. Uncle Todd, you're so smart. I can't believe I'm getting paid $50,000 just to sit at a desk for 3 days. You've earned it, sweetheart. By playing your part, you helped us pull off the biggest payday of our lives. Once this sale closes, I'm retiring to Costa Rica. No extradition treaty with the United States. I'll live like a king for the rest of my life. More laughter and glasses clinking. Then Justin's voice, quieter. What about that Grace Holland woman? I heard rumors she might have evidence from when you fired her. Silence for a moment. Then Todd's voice, colder than before. Grace has been neutralized. I have people watching her apartment. If she tries to contact anyone or goes to authorities, she'll have an unfortunate accident. A very tragic accident that no one will question. The recording continued with more celebration, but we'd heard enough. Sylvia stopped the playback. Grace had gone completely pale. He's threatening to kill me. Sylvia's expression was grave. This recording changes everything. Conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, criminal threats. This is federal criminal territory. We're not just talking about a corporate lawsuit anymore. These people are going to prison. 5 o'clock Wednesday morning, Sylvia filed emergency motions at the federal courthouse. The documents detailed multiple criminal charges: wire fraud, conspiracy, embezzlement, elder abuse, conspiracy to commit murder. She requested immediate restraining orders against Todd, Justin, and the board members involved. She requested an emergency halt to the Parker Technologies sale. The filing was done electronically, and now we had to wait for a judge to review the documents. Federal judges typically handled emergency motions by 10 in the morning. The sale was scheduled for 3 in the afternoon. We had a narrow window. We sat in the courthouse waiting area, 4 exhausted people running on coffee and desperation. I hadn't slept in what felt like days. My phone kept buzzing with calls from debt collectors chasing the fraudulent charges on my credit cards. My brother Nathan had sent a dozen texts asking what he should do about school. I couldn't focus on any of it. At 9:30, we were called into Judge Amanda Holloway's chambers. She was a woman in her mid-60s with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested she didn't tolerate nonsense. "I've reviewed your emergency filing," Judge Holloway said, looking at each of us. "These are serious allegations. Corporate conspiracy, fraud, elder abuse, threats of violence. You're essentially claiming that multiple executives and board members are engaged in organized criminal activity." "Yes, Your Honor," Sylvia said. "We have extensive evidence." She presented the flash drive with Grace's financial records, played portions of the audio recording from the celebration dinner. Judge Holloway listened to Todd's voice threatening Grace, and her expression hardened. "If even half of what you're alleging is true, these people belong in federal prison," the judge said. "I'm inclined to grant the restraining order. However, in the interest of fairness, I need to hear from the defense. I'm ordering all parties named in your complaint to appear here at 1 p.m. for an emergency hearing. I'm also issuing a temporary asset freeze and temporary halt to the sale pending this hearing." Relief flooded through me. We had bought ourselves time. At 10 o'clock, court officers served summons to Todd, Justin, and the board members. They were ordered to appear in federal court at 1 p.m. All company assets were temporarily frozen. The sale to Parker Technologies was officially on hold. I got a text from Jenna 15 minutes later. Todd just got served with the court papers. He threw a computer monitor across his office. Glass everywhere. Security had to calm him down. Everyone's freaking out. For the first time in days, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe we could actually stop this. I walked to my car in the courthouse parking garage at 11, planning to grab food before the hearing. The garage was dim and mostly empty. My footsteps echoed on the concrete. A black SUV pulled up beside me. 2 men in dark suits got out quickly, moving to block my path. "Miss Dale, we need you to come with us," one of them said. My heart started racing. "Who are you?" The man pulled out a badge. "FBI. You're under arrest for wire fraud and identity theft." "What?" "No. This is a mistake. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." They handcuffed me right there in the parking garage. I tried to protest, tried to explain, but they took my phone and put me in the back of the SUV. They drove me to what looked like an FBI field office downtown. I was taken to an interrogation room, small and cold with a metal table and 2 chairs. An agent sat across from me, opening a thick folder. "Miss Dale, I'm Special Agent David Crane. We've been investigating you for 3 weeks. This is insane. I haven't done anything wrong. My boss is setting me up." Agent Crane slid papers across the table. Bank statements showing transfers from company accounts to an account with my name on it. But I'd never opened that account. Credit card statements with charges I never made. Emails from my work address authorizing fraudulent wire transfers, but I never sent those emails. "We have digital forensics showing these transactions originated from your work computer," Agent Crane said. "IP addresses, login credentials, everything traces back to you. Someone faked all of this. I'm trying to expose corporate fraud, and they're framing me to silence me. That's a convenient story. You get caught committing fraud, so you blame your boss. We've heard it before." I was supposed to be in court in 2 hours presenting evidence against Todd Brennan. This is witness intimidation. Agent Crane leaned back. "You're being charged with multiple federal crimes. Wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering. You're looking at 20 years minimum." I realized what had happened. Todd knew about the emergency hearing. He'd arranged this fake arrest to keep me from testifying. Without my testimony, the judge might not grant the restraining order. The sale would proceed. While I was being arrested, Lawrence faced his own crisis. Sylvia got a frantic phone call just before noon. Lawrence Whitfield has been taken into custody by Adult Protective Services. Emergency psychiatric evaluation. His family filed paperwork claiming he's a danger to himself. Sylvia rushed outside the courthouse and saw an ambulance pulling away. Justin stood on the sidewalk, looking solemn and concerned for anyone watching. "My father's not well," Justin said loudly for the benefit of bystanders. "He needs professional help. This conspiracy theory about corporate fraud is clearly a delusion. We're getting him the care he needs." "You can't do this," Sylvia said. "I have signatures from 2 psychiatrists recommending immediate evaluation. He's being held for a 72-hour observation period." The ambulance drove away with Lawrence inside. Both Albina and Lawrence had been removed from the picture. The emergency hearing was in 1 hour, and neither primary witness could attend. Sylvia called Grace in a panic. They arrested Albina. They took Lawrence for psychiatric evaluation. "You're our only witness left." "I'll be there," Grace said. "I'm not backing down." Grace headed to the courthouse, but as she climbed the steps at 12:30, a car screeched to a stop at the curb. 2 men jumped out and grabbed her arms. She screamed and struggled. Security guards rushed over, but the men flashed badges. "FBI. This woman is wanted for questioning in a federal investigation." They dragged Grace into the car. It sped away before anyone could react. The badges were fake. These were Todd's people, not real FBI agents. Grace was gone. At 1 o'clock, the emergency hearing began. Judge Holloway took her seat on the bench. "Where are the plaintiffs? Where are Mr. Whitfield and Miss Dale?" Sylvia stood alone at the plaintiff's table. "Your Honor, they've both been detained under suspicious circumstances. Mr. Whitfield is undergoing forced psychiatric evaluation. Miss Dale was arrested this morning by what she claims were FBI agents, though we can't confirm their authenticity. Our third witness, Grace Holland, was abducted from the courthouse steps 30 minutes ago." Judge Holloway frowned deeply. "Abducted?" "Yes, Your Honor. Security footage should show it. Men claiming to be FBI took her by force." Todd's attorney, a polished man named Garrett Pierce, stood up. "Your Honor, this proves exactly what we've been saying. These are desperate, unstable individuals making wild accusations. There's no conspiracy. There's just a disgruntled, terminated employee and an aging founder who can't accept that his company has outgrown him." Judge Holloway looked at the empty plaintiff's table, then at Sylvia, standing alone. "Miss Grant, without your plaintiffs present, without witnesses to testify, I can't proceed with this hearing on the merits of the allegations." "Your Honor, please. If you lift the restraining order, the sale completes this afternoon, and these people will disappear with millions of dollars. I understand your concern, but I can't halt a major corporate transaction based solely on allegations, especially when the people making those allegations can't appear in court. The temporary restraining order is lifted. The sale may proceed as scheduled." Todd and Justin smiled at each other across the courtroom. Garrett Pierce stood again. "Your Honor, we'd also like to file a restraining order against Miss Grant for harassment and defamation. These baseless accusations have caused significant harm to my clients' reputations." Judge Holloway sighed. "Granted." "Miss Grant, you're ordered to cease all contact with the defendants. No phone calls, no emails, no in-person contact." Sylvia couldn't even talk to them now. Every avenue was blocked. The hearing ended, and Todd walked out of the courtroom victorious. I sat alone in the FBI interrogation room, staring at the gray walls. Agent Crane had left me alone for the past 2 hours. It was a classic interrogation tactic, letting me stew in silence, building psychological pressure. I thought about Lawrence, trapped in some psychiatric facility. Grace, kidnapped by Todd's people. The sale was happening in less than 3 hours. Todd and Justin were going to win. They were going to steal everything. The door opened. Agent Crane returned, but he wasn't alone. An older African-American woman entered, her bearing authoritative and commanding. "Miss Dale, I'm Assistant Director Regina Foster, FBI White Collar Crime Division." I looked up, exhausted beyond measure. AD Foster turned to Agent Crane. "Leave us." Crane looked surprised. "Ma'am, I'm in the middle of—" I said leave. He left, closing the door behind him. AD Foster sat down across from me and slid a folder across the table. I've been investigating Todd Brennan for 18 months. My eyes widened. Wire fraud, money laundering, corporate espionage. He's been on our radar since a whistleblower came to us 2 years ago. But he's smart. He covers his tracks well. We haven't been able to build a prosecutable case. She paused. Until now. I don't understand. Why did you arrest me? We didn't. Agent Crane isn't FBI. He's a private investigator Todd hired. This isn't a real FBI field office. It's a rented office space that looks official. The badge, the credentials, all fake. I felt dizzy, my mind struggling to process this. So I'm not under arrest? No. A.D. Foster unlocked my handcuffs. You're free to go, and I'd like to offer you an opportunity to help us take Todd down. She explained that the FBI had been monitoring Todd's activities, but needed concrete evidence of crimes in progress. The audio recording Grace provided was helpful, but not enough for a conviction. They needed to catch Todd in the act of transferring the funds. The sale is happening at 3 p.m. We need someone on the inside to document it. I can't get into the building. My access was revoked. A.D. Foster smiled slightly. You're about to become an FBI consultant. She handed me a new badge. Corporate Security Inspector. This will get you into any building in Portland with legal authority. She explained the plan. Todd's recorded conversation mentioned offshore accounts. During the sale meeting, there would be a moment when funds transferred. The FBI needed proof of where that money went. Can you get us that proof? What about Lawrence? And Grace? We have agents working to locate Grace. We're also working on a court order to release Lawrence from the psychiatric hold. But we're running out of time. 2 o'clock. I was fitted with a sophisticated recording device, nearly invisible under my blazer. A young agent named Sarah Drummond would accompany me as my assistant. If anything goes wrong, I'll get you out, Sarah said. We arrived at the office building at 2:15. My hands shook as we approached the security desk. Corporate Security Inspection, I said, showing my badge. We need access to the executive floor. The guard looked confused. I don't have any notice about an inspection. Sarah showed her FBI credentials. This is a federal matter. We need access immediately. The guard, clearly intimidated, nodded. 10th floor. We rode the elevator in tense silence. I was back in the building where I'd been humiliated and destroyed, but this time, I was here to fight back. Through the glass walls of the executive conference room, I could see them. Todd, Justin, board members, attorneys from Parker Technologies. A video conference screen showed Parker executives from Seattle. Documents covered the table. Sarah whispered, "We wait for the right moment." At 2:40, a courier arrived with a laptop, probably for the wire transfers. Before we could move, someone grabbed my arm. I spun around. Stephanie, Todd's niece, stood there, but her eyes were red and puffy, like she'd been crying. "Please don't go in there," she whispered urgently. I tensed. "Get out of my way." "You don't understand. They're going to kill you. I heard Uncle Todd talking on the phone last night. He told someone to handle the Dale problem permanently. He said it had to look like an accident." Sarah stepped between us. "Explain. Now." Stephanie was shaking. I didn't know what I was getting into. Uncle Todd said it was just helping with a business deal, but last night I heard him on the phone. He said if you showed up today, someone was waiting in that conference room to make sure you didn't leave alive. She looked genuinely terrified. "I'm 23 years old. I just graduated college. I thought I was helping family with business, but they're planning murder. My mom would never forgive me if I let someone die." She pulled out a keycard. "This is Uncle Todd's master access. It opens everything. His office, his computer, the server room. There's a back entrance to the conference room through the executive kitchen. You can get in without them seeing you." Sarah took the keycard. "If you're lying." "I'm not. Please. I looked you up, Miss Dale. You built that entire department. You helped hundreds of employees. I've been sitting at your desk like I earned it, and I don't deserve any of it." We used the executive kitchen entrance, moving through a service corridor to a small prep room beside the conference room. There was a two-way mirror, originally installed so catering staff could monitor meetings. From here, we could see and hear everything. I activated my recording wire. 2:45. Todd stood at the head of the conference table. Gentlemen, let's finalize this. Parker Technologies, are you ready to transfer the $80 million? On the video screen, Parker's CFO nodded. Funds ready to wire upon signature completion. Todd smiled. Then let's sign these documents and make history. Through the two-way mirror, Sarah and I watched the sale proceed exactly as Todd had planned. Documents circulated around the table. Justin signed first, using his new title of acting CEO. Board members signed next. Patricia Vance signed with a trembling hand. Arthur Spelling signed quickly, as if trying to get it over with. Diane Fuller hesitated, but ultimately signed. Todd signed last, his signature bold and flourishing. Congratulations, everyone. As of this moment, we're all extraordinarily wealthy. Champagne appeared, brought by staff who had no idea what they were witnessing. Glasses were poured. Todd raised his glass to new beginnings and profitable endings. His assistant brought in a laptop and set it on the table. Todd sat down and logged into an offshore banking system. The video screen split to show both Parker executives and the wire transfer interface. Todd narrated as he typed. $80 million from Parker Technologies, divided according to our agreement. $20 million to company operational accounts for legitimate business continuity. His fingers moved across the keyboard, and the remaining $60 million divided as promised. The screen showed multiple wire transfers executing simultaneously. $5 million to an account in the Grand Cayman Islands registered to Justin Whitfield. $750,000 to an account in Switzerland for Arthur Spelling. $500,000 to Patricia Vance's account in Singapore. Similar amounts to other board members. And $30 million for me, Todd said, transferring the largest sum to a Costa Rican bank. I've always wanted to retire somewhere tropical. Everything was being recorded on my wire. Every account number, every transfer, every illegal transaction. Todd's phone rang. He answered on speaker, confident in his victory. Yes? A voice came through. Mr. Brennan, this is Riverside Psychiatric Center calling about Lawrence Whitfield. Todd's expression shifted to annoyance. What about him? He's demanding to speak with an attorney. He's claiming he's being held illegally against his will. He's becoming quite agitated. He's under psychiatric evaluation. He doesn't get to make demands. Keep him sedated if necessary. Sir, we can't legally sedate a patient without medical necessity. Todd's voice went cold. I'm paying your facility $50,000 to keep him there until Friday. I don't care what you have to do. Keep him quiet and keep him contained. Justin looked uncomfortable. Todd, maybe we should... Your father is a solved problem. Don't develop a conscience now when we're this close. Todd's phone rang again. He answered, irritated. What now? A gruff, male voice. We have the Holland woman. Where is she? Warehouse on River Street, like you ordered. What do you want us to do with her? Todd paused, looking around the room. Everyone was listening. He seemed to make a decision. Make sure she disappears. Permanently. Ensure there's no evidence that can be traced back to us. Understood, boss. Todd ended the call. The conference room had gone completely silent. Patricia Vance looked physically ill. Todd, she said quietly, are you ordering someone to? I'm solving a problem, Todd interrupted. Don't ask questions you don't want answered. Grace Holland has evidence that could destroy everything we've built. She's a loose end that needs cutting. In the prep room, Sarah radioed quietly. All units, move in now. We have confession to kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, and wire fraud. Go, go, go. FBI agents burst through every door simultaneously. The main entrance, side doors, the kitchen entrance. A.D. Foster led the team entering the conference room, her badge held high. FBI, nobody move. Keep your hands where we can see them. Todd's face went from confident to terrified in seconds. Justin tried to stand, but an agent pushed him back into his chair. Board members put their hands up instinctively. A.D. Foster approached Todd. Todd Brennan, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit murder. Agents handcuffed him. He started screaming. This is illegal! You can't do this! I have rights! You have the right to remain silent. A.D. Foster said. I suggest you use it. She gestured to the two-way mirror. We've been recording this entire meeting. Todd's eyes went wide with horror as he realized what had happened. I stepped out from behind the mirror, and when Todd saw me, his face contorted with rage. You destroyed everything. No, I said, my voice remarkably steady. You destroyed everything the moment you decided to steal from people who trusted you. A.D. Foster continued. Justin Whitfield, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit elder abuse, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes against your own father. Justin was crying. I didn't want to do it. Todd said Dad was losing his mind anyway. He convinced me it was the right thing. Save it for your attorney, A.D. Foster said. One by one, the board members were arrested. Patricia protested. I didn't know about the murder. I just wanted my share of the sale. You participated in fraud and conspiracy, A.D. Foster replied. That's more than enough. As the arrests proceeded, A.D. Foster received a radio transmission. Ma'am, we've located Grace Holland at the warehouse on River Street. She's alive and unharmed. 2 suspects in custody. A.D. Foster looked at me. Your friend is safe. Relief washed over me so powerfully I had to steady myself against the wall. Within an hour, the building was swarming with FBI agents and police. Employees gathered in the lobby, watching in shock as their executives were led out in handcuffs. News crews arrived, cameras filming everything. Jenna found me in the chaos and hugged me tightly. You did it, Dale. Everyone's been watching on the security feeds. You saved the whole company. Other employees approached. People I'd worked with for years. They were crying, thanking me, telling me they knew I'd been wrongfully accused. I realized I hadn't just been fighting for myself. I'd been fighting for all of them. At 4:15, a car pulled up outside. Lawrence climbed out, looking exhausted but free. A federal judge had ordered his immediate release once the FBI presented evidence of the illegal psychiatric hold. When Lawrence saw me, he crossed the distance between us and pulled me into a tight embrace. You saved my company. You saved my life. We saved each other, I said. As we stood there, another car arrived. 2 men in expensive suits got out. Bernard Hayes, the lead negotiator from Parker Technologies, approached Lawrence. Mr. Whitfield, we need to talk. Lawrence tensed. If you're here to demand the sale proceeds forward. Actually, we're here to apologize. We had no idea Todd was committing fraud. We were deceived as thoroughly as you were. Bernard handed Lawrence a document. Parker Technologies is officially withdrawing from the acquisition. We don't do business with criminals. He paused, looking between Lawrence and me. However, we are still interested in doing business with your company. Legitimate business. We've been impressed with your organization for years, particularly with the client retention program. He looked directly at me. The program Dale built. It's the most innovative customer loyalty system in the industry. We'd like to discuss a partnership. Not an acquisition, but a collaboration. Joint ventures, shared technology development, mutual growth. Lawrence looked at me. What do you think? I was surprised he was asking my opinion on something this significant. I think we should explore it, but on our terms this time. Equal partnership, full transparency. Bernard smiled. That's exactly what we're proposing. Let's schedule a proper meeting next week. No hidden agendas, no fraud. Just honest business between honest companies. They shook hands, and for the first time in a week, I felt like I could breathe. 2 weeks had passed since the arrests, and the world felt completely different. I sat in my new office, the vice president's suite on the executive floor, watching the sun set over Portland. The office had floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of Mount Hood in the distance, and furniture I actually chose myself. The legal aftermath had been swift and decisive. Todd and Justin were denied bail, the judge calling them flight risks with offshore bank accounts. They were awaiting trial on multiple federal charges. Prosecutors offered Todd a 20-year sentence in exchange for a guilty plea. He refused, claiming he'd been entrapped. The trial was scheduled for 6 months away, but his attorneys weren't optimistic. Justin had taken a plea deal, 15 years in federal prison, in exchange for testifying against Todd and providing evidence of the full scope of the conspiracy. Lawrence refused to visit him. "I lost a son," he told me one afternoon, "but I gained clarity about who really values loyalty and integrity." The board members who participated had taken various plea deals. Patricia Vance got 5 years, Arthur Spelling got 7. Diane Fuller had cooperated extensively with the FBI investigation and received 3 years. The others received sentences ranging from 4 to 10 years. The fake FBI agent, whose real name was Dennis Cole, had been arrested for impersonation of a federal officer and conspiracy. He was looking at 10 years. Apparently, Todd had paid him $100,000 to intimidate me. Cole confessed everything the moment the real FBI showed up at his door. Grace Holland was recovering and had agreed to testify at Todd's trial. The embezzlement charges against her from 2 years ago had been officially vacated and expunged from her record. The district attorney issued a formal apology. Lawrence had hired her as a consultant for financial oversight, paying her $150,000 a year. She cried when he made the offer. My own restoration had been remarkable. I was officially reinstated with a promotion to Senior Vice President of Client Relations. My salary increased by 40% to $210,000 a year, plus performance bonuses. The company issued a formal public apology, and the false press release about my ethical violations was retracted. Multiple news outlets covered my story, calling me a whistleblower who exposed corporate corruption. The fraudulent charges against me were dropped and expunged. My credit was being repaired, the identity theft reversed. The $8,000 stolen from my savings was returned with interest. Nathan was back at Oregon State. Lawrence personally paid his tuition for the entire year, $20,000, and set up a scholarship fund in my name for students whose parents work in corporate America. Nathan called me crying when he found out, thanking me for fighting when everything seemed hopeless. Lawrence had resumed his role as active CEO, but was preparing for succession planning. The real kind, not the corrupt version Todd had orchestrated. He was mentoring me to eventually take over as Chief Executive Officer in 3 to 5 years. "You fought for this company when no one else would," he told me during one of our weekly strategy meetings. "You've more than earned the right to lead it into the future." The partnership with Parker Technologies was moving forward. Bernard Hayes and his team had been impressed by our integrity throughout the crisis. We were developing a joint technology platform for customer retention, combining our innovative approach with Parker's resources. The first phase was expected to generate $30 million in new revenue. I had hired 15 new employees from my expanded department, including several people Todd had wrongfully terminated over the years. Jenna got promoted to assistant director with a substantial raise. The company culture shifted dramatically. We implemented new oversight committees, whistleblower protections, and transparent financial reporting. Employee satisfaction scores increased by 30% in just 2 weeks. Stephanie, Todd's niece, had reached out to me privately. We met at a coffee shop, the same one where Lawrence and I had first regrouped during the crisis. "I don't expect forgiveness for what I did," she said, her hands wrapped around her coffee cup. "Even if I didn't understand how bad it was, I still participated." "You helped save my life at the end," I replied. "That counts for something significant. I'm going back to school, getting a master's degree in nonprofit management. I want to work for organizations that actually help people, not steal from them." "That's real growth, Stephanie. I respect that." We didn't become friends, but we parted with mutual understanding and respect. Friday evening, exactly 2 weeks after the arrests, I stayed late at the office finishing some reports. At 6 o'clock, I closed my laptop and looked around my new space. I thought about how close I'd come to giving up. The night I sat in my apartment, staring at that termination letter, feeling like my entire world had ended. The moment I almost signed the confession Todd demanded, thinking I had no other choice. I pulled out the journal I'd started keeping during the crisis, something my therapist recommended to process the trauma. I opened to a fresh page and wrote, "I learned that injustice doesn't fix itself. You have to stand up and fight, even when the odds seem impossible. I learned that documentation matters more than people realize. My employment contract, the financial records Grace saved, the audio recording, all of it became evidence that saved us. I learned that powerful people can conspire against you, but you're not powerless if you're willing to be brave. I learned that allies can come from unexpected places. Grace risked her life to provide evidence. Stephanie found her conscience at the critical moment. The FBI believed me when they could have dismissed my claims. Lawrence never stopped fighting, even when his own son betrayed him. I learned that your value isn't determined by whether someone fires you or by what they say about you. Todd tried to erase me, destroy my reputation, frame me for crimes I didn't commit. But I'm still here, stronger than before, wiser, more determined. Most importantly, I learned that standing up for what's right isn't just about protecting yourself. If I had signed that confession, if I had given up and disappeared, Todd would have done this to someone else. By fighting back, I stopped him from destroying anyone else. That matters more than any title or salary. If someone out there is going through something similar, dealing with a corrupt boss or a workplace conspiracy, please remember this. Document everything. Save emails, record conversations where legal, keep copies of your performance reviews and employment contracts. Find allies who believe in justice. Don't try to fight alone. Use the legal protections that exist. Employment law, corporate bylaws, whistleblower protections, they're there for a reason. And never, ever give up, even when it looks completely hopeless. Because the truth has a way of surfacing eventually. Courage has a way of winning, even against powerful people who think they're untouchable. Your integrity and your willingness to fight back matter more than their money or their influence. I closed the journal and looked out the window. The city lights were coming on, casting Portland in a warm glow. My phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Just aced my finals. Top of my class in economics. Thanks for everything, sis. Love you more than you know. Another text from Lawrence. Catherine and I are cooking dinner tomorrow night. We'd love for you to join us. We want to celebrate your promotion properly. Another from Grace. Coffee Monday morning. I want to hear about the Parker project progress. And I found some interesting patterns in the quarterly reports I thought you should see. I smiled, gathering my things. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in an interrogation room, facing 20 years in federal prison for crimes I didn't commit, watching everything I'd built crumble around me. Now I was rebuilding not just my career, but helping rebuild an entire company's integrity. I rode the elevator down to the parking garage. As I walked to my car, I passed the conference room where Todd had fired me. The room where he'd sneered, "You missed your target, sweetheart," while knowing every word was a lie. I paused, looking through the glass. That moment felt like a lifetime ago. I wasn't that broken, devastated woman anymore. I was the woman who fought back against corruption and won. The woman who refused to let injustice have the final word. Tomorrow was Saturday. For the first time in 4 years, I was taking the entire weekend off. No emails, no work calls, just rest and recovery. Balance mattered, I'd learned. Life was more than just career success. As I drove home, I thought about the message I wanted to share with anyone who might hear this story. When someone tries to destroy you unjustly, remember that you have more power than you think. The system has protections built in, employment contracts, legal clauses, federal oversight. You just have to be brave enough to use them. Document everything, every email, every conversation, every transaction. Find allies who believe in justice and won't back down when things get difficult. Never give up, even when it looks hopeless, because the truth has a way of surfacing eventually. Courage has a way of winning. Your value isn't determined by people who want to diminish you or by bosses who fire you unjustly. It's determined by your integrity, your willingness to fight for what's right, and your refusal to let corrupt people win. I pulled into my apartment complex, parked, and sat for a moment in the quiet. The weight of the past 2 weeks was lifting. I'd survived something I never imagined facing, and I'd emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. As I walked to my apartment, I realized something profound. This experience, as terrible as it was, had taught me exactly how strong I could be when everything was on the line. Todd had tried to break me, tried to erase me, tried to destroy everything I'd built. He failed, and his failure was complete and absolute. I unlocked my door, stepped inside, and finally felt at home again. Not just in my apartment, but in my own life. The nightmare was over, the fight was won, and tomorrow was going to be a beautiful day. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever faced a situation at work where you knew something was wrong but felt powerless to speak up? Have you ever wondered if fighting back against corruption is worth the risk? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories and perspectives. If this story resonated with you, if it gave you hope that justice can prevail even against powerful people, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories about people who fought back and won. And share this video with anyone who might need to hear it, anyone who's struggling with workplace injustice or corruption. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to stand up for what's right, to document everything, to find your allies, and to never give up even when the odds seem impossible. Remember, your integrity and courage are worth fighting for. Stay strong, stay brave, and never let corrupt people have the final word. Until next time, I wish you all the strength and courage you need for whatever battles you're facing. You're stronger than you think, you're more capable than you know, and you deserve to win.